right. Hey, everybody. We've got Jason Peterson lending us some input about the Olympic qualification. So, Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Emily. It's good to be on again.
Yeah. So, since you have done this and been involved kind of in this world, it's good to have you on here. So, let's talk about the women first. What needs to happen at this race to kind of pick that last spot for the team? We got Gwen Jorgensen and Sarah have their spots tied up. So, who's going to be? What does the third person need to do to get on the team?
Right. So, Katie has done, everything but make the team. So she is in that objective ranking that USA Triathlon has. She is so far out in front compared to the other women that on the list, that basically the only way Katie doesn't make it on is either one of the other girls finishes top 3 in Yokohama, or there's a potential for USA Triathlon to pick a domestique. And that's kind of interesting because I heard some people, as I've been talking to people this season, mention, I wonder if maybe they'd pick Sarah Haskins to help out Gwen like she did in Edmonton. I think that was 2014, where Gwen came out a little farther down, had to do a ton of work to catch up, and it worked that day. So it's hard to argue that, if what they really want, USA Triathlon really wants, is a gold medal from Gwen, that they wouldn't try to pick a domestique. But so
Gwen's kind of stronger right now,
right,
versus
I
a couple
agree.
years ago.
I agree. She was those wins in 2014. I feel like were a bit like you weren't sure how it was going to shake up, because she was just like sometimes coming so far behind on the run, and most of the time she got it done. But last year it was a lot different. We saw her up front the whole race, and even attacking sometimes on the bike, and just really owning her race. And it looked like maybe she wouldn't need a domestique, but then in Gold Coast, some athletes got away on the bike, and she wasn't able to run them down. You could argue maybe she was going into it, that she has her focus on Rio, and Gold Coast wasn't a big deal to her. But again, that's just another reason why you could imagine a domestique being a possible option.
But who could be the option? I mean, Sarah Haskins is your best bet, but she doesn't have the points, right?
Exactly. So you need to be Olympic eligible to go to the Olympics. That's like an ITU criteria. And ITU says basically there's a few different lists. You would need to be top 140 ranked on one of those lists. And Sarah Haskins, she hasn't been racing, so she is not in that list. So we can definitively rule her out. She will not be a domestique. And then I dug a little deeper and looked at the possible women that aren't in the race at Yokohama, that maybe people aren't thinking about. And to be honest, I don't think any of these women warrant a domestique selection. I mean, no offense to them, but it's more saying how great Katie is, that she or whoever else earns the spot, that they would deserve it. But some of these girls are like Erin Dolan, Taylor Spivey, Caitlin Donner, Chelsea Burns. And when you need a domestique to be out front on the swim, so she needs to come out ahead of Gwen or close to her, and or Groff, for that matter. And they need to be, one of the strongest cyclists out there. And I don't think any of those women I just mentioned fit that bill.
Yeah, no, they're not the Nicholas Spirig type.
Exactly. So that boils down to basically a top 3 at Yokohama is the way in, I think, for the women, except for Katie, who's, it's her, the way I see it, it's her spot, but there's a potential for some of the women like Kirsten Casper or Renee Tomlin, or Lindsay Jordonik or Summer Cook to get in that top 3.
So if Katie Zafiris finishes 5th and Renee Tomlin finishes 4th, Katie still makes it based on points. The
Correct.
only way Renee can make it is if she gets first, second, or third.
Correct. Or any of
Okay.
the other women.
Right. Okay. So do you think there's potential that any of those women could finish ahead of Katie and on the podium?
For sure. I mean, Kirsten, got 2 podiums this year at World Cups and a 5th at Gold Coast, I believe it was. So
Wait,
getting
10th, right?
or she was 10th. She was 3rd
Gold
somewhere,
Coast.
or 5th somewhere, and 10th somewhere.
Right. And 5th, Cape Town. Did she do Cape Town?
Oh, that's probably what it was, Cape Town.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, thanks for correcting me. So, she's been 5th at a WTS race. She's got the potential, to step it up maybe to a podium, but let's, put it out there that her getting a top 3 would be the best race of her life. So, is it possible?
Right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's an Olympic year, like stranger things have happened, right?
For sure. For sure.
That's what makes me nervous. Like you had that one 2008 when Potts was like the guy. He was going to be the 3rd guy. He just needed to do this race, and then Jared got the slot. So, I mean, and I also see with Kirsten Casper, like I think her podium was in a sprint race. Like this is an Olympic distance race. Like, does she have that strength on the 10K? I think Katie's pretty strong and can probably outrun her on a 10K, all things being equal.
I agree. So that's the other thing. I think some of these other girls have, had great starts to their season. Summer Cook won that race, that World Cup in Chengdu. But at the end of the day, I mean, if the race was just Katie versus these other women, 9 times out of 10, I would pick Katie over them regardless. So, I mean, she's just done, she's put up some amazing results in the last 18 months. So, I mean, I think she deserves this position.
Yeah, I agree too. I just get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they are too. I'm sure they are too. But I think, for someone to like Renee Tomlin to get a top 3, like I think some other things have to happen. The packs probably would have to come together. Like, so I think there are some things out of Renee's control that would have to go her way. Whereas Katie has more control because she's probably going to come out of the water in that front pack, and she's going to be in that front pack on the bike and can react if anything happens. So I feel like she's more in control of how the race plays out in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Right. I guess the other wild card in there is I don't know what the weather is supposed to be like. There's been rain there before. The bike course does have some sort of technical sections with some tight turns, and there's certainly been some crashes there before. So I mean, you could have a big breakaway or something and slip around a corner. I mean, we saw that Belgian kid a couple years ago. I'm pretty
Martin
sure.
Van Riel.
Yeah, I think it was here at Yokohama where that happened. So
okay, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the weather is supposed to be pretty moderate. Last time I checked, like 70s, partly cloudy. So hopefully it stays that way, and they get to decide the Olympics, with everybody crossing the line and having a good race instead of someone, crashing out or something.
Exactly.
So who are your picks for? I mean, you can give me podium for the entire race, and then which U.S. woman is going to get her slot.
Okay, I'm gonna go with Gwen back on top.
Okay.
I think as we get closer to the Olympics, we'll see her moving forward. And then I'm gonna go for a big race from Katie to to just put any doubt aside and lock it up herself and go second place. And then I really like the way Andrea Hewitt's looked, so I'm going to pick her for the bronze.
Yeah, I picked her. I think I picked her to be on the podium too. I think I might have picked her a second because she's just always there, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, so
Exactly.
I agree with you on that. And she's raced well in Yokohama before, I believe. So
Yeah. I
it's
guess like
always a
a
good.
dark horse might be Ai Ueda from Japan. The Japanese always do so well racing at home. And the
Yeah,
support at this race, I did this race a couple years ago for the Japanese athletes. Well, for everyone, but especially the Japanese athletes is really amazing. So I could see her, pulling out sort of like a lifetime performance.
yeah. They also had the young gal Yuka Sato who did well at the grand finale in Chicago.
Okay, yeah,
She could be up there too.
yeah. So look out for the
Uh,
Japanese for sure.
all right, let's go to the men, which is a little more complicated and requires more math.
Yeah, for sure. I
um,
yeah would put my engineering degree to use here.
all right, so break it down as simply as you can.
Okay, so we got Greg Billington, Joe Malloy, Eric Lagerstrom, currently the top three guys heading in. Number 4 is Ben Canute, and 5 is Kevin McDowell. Actually, on the Olympic points list, Jared, I'm pretty sure has 0 points. Rather, let me say the USA objective list
Yes.
for Olympic qualification. Jared has 0. It's just the 5 races I think they've used, or the 4 so far. He's had some bad luck and some DNF. So that's the way all those guys are sitting right now. And so I took a look at what it would take for each guy to leapfrog into the top 3. So, for instance, Jared would need a 10th to catch up to Eric. Kevin McDowell would need a 14th to catch Eric. Ben only needs a 20th place to catch Eric. And Eric, for instance, would need 11th to catch Joe and a 9th to catch Greg. So all that is assuming that the person, for instance, that everyone's trying to leapfrog Eric, basically, that
Right.
Eric isn't scoring any points. So, I mean, Eric, of course, is planning to improve upon his ranking. So, I believe anything better than a top 20 from him would improve his ranking. So, there it is.
And and with Eric, I mean, we know he's had a little bit of a IT band issue going on. He's kind of mentioned that on Twitter, and it seems like he's been doing a lot of swim training, which will be great. He'll be out kind of first pack. Do you think that could impact his race, or does he have kind of behind him that he'll be able to gut it out, kind of like Greg Billington did well in Korea at the end of last year after a stress fracture,
Mm-hmm.
had him out of the Chicago Grand Finale.
Yeah, no, for sure. Eric has missed a little bit to this IT band problem. I talked to him a little bit about it a while ago. I don't know the details exactly how much he's missed, but I mean, it really does kind of put Eric in a tough spot. Everyone on the US side pretty much has their target on him, and he's coming in. I'm sure not where he would have liked to be. So, it's crazy. Like anything can happen there.
Right. But Eric's pretty scrappy, isn't he? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, for
like
sure. I mean,
he's a fighter.
yeah, we used to call him aggro. So, he's just like when he gets, getting up to the start line and when he dives in that water, he is super intense, super focused. So I know he'll, put all out on the line. So those guys trying to catch him are gonna have to have a special day for sure.
And what do you think, like Ben Newt, we all know his usual race plan is, out on the swim at the front and hammer the bike. Do you think he's going to try to get a breakaway to kind of give him a little bit of cushion onto the run? And who could he work with on this list to have a breakaway? Like Martin Van Riel, is that someone he might be able to kind of go with? Like, is anybody going to be motivated for some breakaways, like people trying to get Olympic points and things like that?
Right. It's interesting. I think there's some people that are going to be a little maybe more conservative than normal. And the few people that kind of, don't have a great shot or might really be going for it. In terms of working with people, your first two picks are normally the Brownlees. And if you've taken a look at the start list, the Brownlees are not making the trip out to Japan. So Ben will not have them to be working with for sure. The other thing with that strategy though is on on a lot of days Eric is coming out right with Ben out of the water. Maybe not quite as consistently as Ben is, but there's a shot that Eric's going to be in that pack too. So honestly, I think I see this race probably coming together, or at least like a decent sized front pack. Maybe there'll be a couple packs, but I don't see like one of the or rather like a few guys off the front, unless there's maybe
People just won't.
Yeah, they won't want to let them go. I guess the exception would be
Right.
maybe somebody that's like ranked a bit lower. Maybe they make a late breakaway or something like that.
Right. But is that amount of time even worth it? Like that just gives you, I mean, maybe that's good. That gives you a clean transition. You don't have to worry about crashing at the dismount line or, running and having to like, run into people to get the rack. Like what about the Polyanskis? They're always ready to go.
Yeah, no,
Sometimes they're bike handled.
Yeah, exactly. They're always on the back. So if there's an issue, they'll probably, or have a good shot at getting caught up in that. But the thing with that though is, yeah, they're always on the back, but they always just like, or almost always, they just like find a way to hang on. And I think Dimitri especially is a guy to be looking out for in this race. But I don't think they would be driving a breakaway. So
Okay.
So and then the other thing is there's a bunch of Americans that are all marking each other, and so who's gonna let if it is an American going out, we might unfortunately see that case where an American is chasing down an American.
Right. Like Lagerstrom's not going to let Knut get away, because
Exactly.
Eric might be a little bit like iffy on how his run's going to go. So he's going to want to be right there. He's not going to have to be like, oh, I don't want to have to run 15 seconds faster or whatever. Like, I want to make sure like I'm there when it starts type thing.
Yeah. I think, maybe they're all just looking, can I outrun, the third best guy, enough, on Saturday. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of the way I see it happening.
Yeah. So maybe this is a bike where everybody's going to end up looking at each other because, no one's going to want to be, if I make the move, this guy's going to come after me. So no one goes for fear of there's going to be no one to help me type thing.
Exactly.
Okay. So if that is the case, what's going to happen on the run? Like who's going to secure their spot for USA?
I find it hard to imagine a scenario where Greg and Joe aren't making it on the team. I think I'll say first of all though that all the guys, what I said they would have to do. I mean, Jared, it's been a little while since Hamburg, but he needs a 10th to catch third place. Like he's been there before, and Kevin needs a 14th to catch Eric. That's totally within the possibilities for Kevin to do that. So everyone certainly has a shot that's in this race to do that. But I think Joe and Greg have a great shot of making it in. And well, the listeners know this, but I spent the last few years training in Poway with Greg, Joe, and Eric. So I'm like as biased as they come here. So I'm definitely going with my boy Eric Lagerstrom. I mean, I invited him to my wedding, so I can't I can't not pick him to be making the team.
Nothing against Ben Canute, obviously.
Exactly, Ben's a
but
really nice guy, but
I mean, someone's not going to make it. That's the thing that sucks about all this. I think with the way that the start list is, like, you don't have any of those, like, except for Mola, maybe you don't have Louis there, you don't have Murray there, you don't have Gomez there, you don't have the Brownlees there. So I think that it could be a big pack coming in, and it might not be as aggressive on the bike.
mm-hmm.
So I think it'll end up probably a run race. I mean, like they usually are, but I think it might be a little bit more together, and everyone hopefully will just stay safe and get onto that run, and we'll see what happens. But I think Eric can pull it out. I mean, that run might get ugly, but I think he's willing to go there.
Mm-hmm. I guess the one thing we didn't say with the men, and this is all we talked about with the women, basically, but on the men is, of course, any of those guys finish top 3, they're making the team. So regardless, if Joe and Greg have great days, but 2 other guys get in the top 3 somehow, one of them won't be going. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we didn't say that. I guess maybe that's because a lot of this, Joe was 6th at Gold Coast, and I think Greg was 10th, which was some of the best performances we've seen from the USA guys
mm-hmm.
in a while. And that's not to say that they're not great athletes. I just think the level of some of the men is just so deep. I mean, like I said, you have Murray and you have the Brownlees and you have Gomez, like,
and all those Spaniards.
That's a tough, right. That's just a tough crowd. So, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, obviously, that someone could finish 3rd and just, or 2nd or 1st and just,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, they would have to have, I think maybe Kevin McDowell doing that, he'd probably have to have like a transcend and have a career day, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's made World Cup podiums before, but
right.
I don't think his WTS results have been quite on the same level as some of his World Cup results.
Right. Like, I mean, you have to, it's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
You don't win World Cups and then come right to WTS and win. Usually, you have to move up the ranks, so to speak, because it is I'm sure, different race.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's just so much deeper, at the WTS level.
All right, so you're going to go Malloy, Billington, and Lagerstrom to get their spots.
Yeah, it's going to be a Poway party.
Yep. You're planning to watch, I'm sure, on Friday. You have your Friday all lined up.
Yeah, of course. So I'm super excited. And I mean, whoever makes the team, they earned it. But I hope my biases and stuff weren't coming out too strong. But it's just there's like so much on the line. Like all of these guys have been working for this, specifically for the last, few years, but I'm sure, lifelong dreams.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's like, that's why the Olympics are cool, right? Because it's like heartbreaking and inspiring at the same time. So
exactly.
I'm excited to watch, and thanks for coming on. That's all good information.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thanks.